Hello, I'm Stone Oakvalley, and this story starts with a bunch of boxes. So these are all my boxes where I keep all my retro hardware and software and games. And you have to excuse my voice because the dry winter air in Norway can be quite harsh sometimes. But I have a lot of these boxes, and they are filled with all kinds of random stuff, all kinds of retro stuff. And inside these boxes, I do have magazines. So I split out the magazines and I cleaned up all the boxes just a couple of months ago. So now I have them all organized into, categories. So there will be like Commodore tapes or joysticks or CD32 stuff and some Commodore. And this is actually my home-built arcade machine, which I built in 2003 until 2006. I haven't made a video about this, but it's really a crazy project. I have this project on my website, so you can see it at least in a picture and information type of way. But after I took out all the magazines, I needed some boxes to put them in. And I didn't want to buy any boxes because I was also doing research for my next movie, which is going to be a really big, long video. But that deals with me trying to figure out where my Amiga CD32 went. And that movie is called The Hunt for My Amiga CD32. And during that time, I needed really to dig out any kind of clue. And one of these clues were actually maybe inside these boxes. These boxes actually contain all the paperwork that I got from government, from my job, all the bills I paid, all these physical letters. Back in the day in 1991, you would get information via letters. And there were important papers, like insurance papers and all of this. So basically, when I started working in 1991, and I get my own bank account, and eventually you get your own car, you will get a bunch of paperwork, right? So I tried to organize that into separate categories in these boxes. And I took out all the papers, and it became quite a lot of paper. So this is actually 5,811 pieces of paper that I needed to scan because I need to search through this information digitally. So it is quite high. I have some specifications of everything, and I scanned all of these papers. So this is 33 years of paperwork when I started working in September 1991, all the way to May this year. I was 17 to 50 age. I had my birthday in this year, 50-year birthday in June. And that amounts to 24.5 kilo of paper, and there was 5,800 scans being made. So some of the paper were just single page, there were double page, or there could be like multi scans going on. And the scanning that took quite a while, a couple of weeks, 21 days, a couple of hours every day. And I scanned it as TIFF, uncompressed. That was 50 gigabyte, and then I compressed it down to 30. I converted this with my own little script that took all these TIFF files and created PDFs out of them. And then I also automated the process of getting OCR, so I can search through the recognizable text that the process would find. So at the end, it turned out to be almost 800 megabyte of searchable PDF. And here are some statistics from that project. And I used a Brother scanner, which is actually from 2005, and scanned it all. So the amount of paper you saw in the picture, that was 60 centimeter in height, and it was 4.5 bags of shredded paper, because after I scan this paper, I really want to get rid of them. And I don't have a fireplace, so I thought I need to shred them, and this is how that looked. So this is 4.5 bags of all those years, 33 years of, I would say, public information paperwork that you gather through a life. And this was the printer that did all this. So I will. This is at the end where I scan all these receipts, so I can move along a little bit quicker. But and this, there's also a little screenshot of one of the scripts that I used to convert the TIFF to PDF. It was what is this? The Visual Basic script, and this was actually done in ChatGPT, because I'm not a programmer of Visual Basic scripting. So this really worked straight out of the box, which is always nice. But of course, this was just the introduction of these boxes. So eventually, when I managed to clean out those boxes, I had this left, and now I can categorize all the magazines. So I have one box for Giga, one box for Databladet, and DNH, and then some. I do have some English magazines, but this video is about the Norwegian magazines, obviously, and yeah, I need to rest my voice, so I think I will just get straight into a video that I recorded some weeks ago. So I hope you enjoy this. Hello, I'm Stone Oakvalley, and you may remember my name from projects such as SOASC and SOAMC, which are Commodore 64 recordings and Amiga recordings. I did back in 2006 all the way up to 2022, where I recorded the music from real hardware on both Commodore 64 and also on Amiga 1200. And you can check out the link for SOASC in the QR code, and also the Amiga version of it. And the recordings lasted really from 2006 to 2022 for the Commodore 64, and I produced about 900,000 MP3 and FLAC files for the Amiga recordings, the SOAMC, which you can visit. I recorded about 608,000 tracks, so also in MP3 and FLAC format. But this was just a short introduction, because I want to talk about a project I've been working on since 2014. It's about Norwegian computer history, and especially preserving and collecting all the computer magazines that we had in Norway during the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and all the way probably up to early 2000. And I started this project in 2014, but there's a backstory, I guess, because I started collecting these magazines anyway in 1987 or 88, when I got my first Commodore 64. And of course, these magazines were gold. Not only the English and American magazines that you could buy in the shops, but also the Norwegian ones, because, well, it talks my language, since I'm from Norway. And We didn't have internet. The only documentation we could find and read and learn about computers and programming and games and all kinds of hardware and everything was basically, well, read the manual, right? So we had the Commodore 64 manual. This is the first manual I had. I'm not sure if I had the English version or the Norwegian. This is the English version. This is the Norwegian version. So of course this is where I learned how to program. I will basically just put in the code and I will start messing around and see what works or not. So that's some of the things you could do. And this is also where I learned pixel graphics, sprites and all this stuff. I found a really interesting thing here. Yeah, there it is. So this is the famous C64 basic balloon. I had so much fun with that one, doing sprites and everything. And of course you had the manuals, and you could go to the library and you can borrow these more like grown-up books, I would say. There are a couple of things, but they are very extremely Norwegian, to put it that way. And of course you could also get like books, like kind of school books, kind of that were based on, maybe this is based on a UK TV show, I suppose. And it also has you know, just some basic stuff here. Then I came across this book, which is my all-time favorite book because it has a lot of images and colors, and it has a lot of sprite definitions, and I really love this book. But then again, you know, we wanted more. We want more and more and more, and we started buying English magazines, because that is the one that I guess were very visible in the shops. So that would be like Commodore User, right? Or CU, Amiga, CU actually, and then SAP 64. That will also be a typical magazine you would buy in the shops back in the 80s and 90s, and then Amiga Computing, of course. We're getting into the Amiga area, and then CU Amiga, like I said. And yeah, Amiga format, and there was, you know, a great deal more than just those I showed. But there was also the Norwegian magazine, which is the focus of today, and in this video. And of course, if you are an English person, this magazine won't give you any value, so to speak. But I do this video in English because I've been using English since day one, since I started with Commodore 64 in the 80s, so it doesn't matter for me. So you've been warned. The bonus at the end of the video is probably not for everybody, but at least very valuable for Norwegians who doesn't know that this archive even exists. Or maybe you do know it exists and you were a contributor, meaning you contacted me during 2014 and all the way up to last year maybe, and I thank you very much for your contribution. You helped the building the only place and probably only archive ever built of Norwegian magazines online. Because when I started searching this in 2014, I was thinking I want to read all the old magazines. I had a batch of this myself from the old days, and I couldn't find it. So I went to the National Library online website. I could find traces of the publication, but maybe a screenshot of the front page. There's no download. What's going on here? Like, why wasn't this magazine preserved like decades ago? I couldn't find anything. It's like disrespectful or something. You know, there's a hole in that area of Norwegian history, I would say. I don't know if the National Library have scanned and produced these PDFs now. I haven't checked in 10 years, really, because I gave up. I couldn't find it. And I thought, okay, well, I will put out some magazines myself, just for fun. because maybe I was on vacation and I want to read some magazines. I could just go to my own website. Of course, you cannot drag around a bag of this in your suitcase. That's of course you could, and I did. But that's you know, for 100 magazines, that's not something you will drag along with you. You need a digital version, like a searchable digital representation. So this video will then just show you what I have of magazines, how far I've gotten, and also again a special thanks to Frode for helping me a lot. He sends a bunch of stuff that I have never heard about, Norwegian magazines, which I'm really proud to be able to present out there. So thank you very much again, Frode. And yeah, I will give you a brief look of the magazines. So here's like one of them, AmigaForum. That's my all-time favorite. I will showcase these magazines a little bit later in this video. Then you also have these computer clubs, and this is also a very famous magazine in Norway. A lot of people love this. And actually the forerunner to AmigaForum was EXEC. This is also a very good quality magazine. I mean, it has focusing mostly on productivity, not so much games, which I absolutely love that they do. And we also have Giga. That was like a mix between, I guess, mostly hardware and games, maybe some tools, software. And then you have Tekno, which is also an all-time classic here in Norway. I really like that magazine as well. But then these are all the common ones. And like I said, Frode and others sent me these magazines I have never heard about. I could never see them in the shops. I swear. I don't know. Maybe they were in bigger Narvesen kiosk here in Norway. That would be like a, I guess, 7-Eleven or something you would call it outside Norway. But there were magazines from the 80s, and yeah, maybe these stopped being shipped to the shops, because I started my magazine buying in 1987, probably 88. So yeah, maybe Mikrodata was in the shop, I don't know. These would usually have a name on the back, meaning that there was some kind of subscription going on, so people would receive this in the mail. I only have subscription, I remember, on EXEC, on DNH, and also AmigaForum. So my name is actually on many of these magazines because that was my copies. And then there's also Hjemmedata, which is another magazine that is, well, these are more like family oriented, like there's something for the mother and something for the father, I guess. Some serious business stuff, but I really enjoy reading all of these magazines. And this is not possible. Back in 2014, I couldn't read about this computer history of Norway, my own country where I live. Who's in charge here? You know, where is these publications? So I'm thankful for all the donations, like magazines only. We're not talking about money here. This is all non-profit. It's just a love for the game. And yeah, I guess that's a little introduction of everything. I will now go through the magazines a little bit more in detail. Not so much detail, but you know, go through them, show the design of the pages, and maybe some quick history, you know, my own personal snippets here and there. And there are some bonuses along the way that I will throw in wherever I can. So yeah, I think that's for the introduction of Norwegian magazines, but I also want to point out that all these English magazines, especially, you know, Amiga format, CU Amiga, Amiga Computing, etc. I found all of this, I think in 2009, I found a website called, what was it, DLH, Bombjack, Commodore Archive, and he has thousands of magazines, so that's where the idea of downloading PDFs reading magazines that I had back in the day was really cool to read it again, right? But then I could also read the magazines that I managed to skip in the shop, because maybe the shop was out. And I couldn't get this month's publication. And that's it. You lost. You can't get it until, 30 years later, which is horrible to think about. So Bombjack has done a good job of preserving all the international magazines, I would say, more like English magazines. And there was no Norwegian magazines that I can remember. But that's where it started for me. So I downloaded pretty much everything, like 3,500 magazines, put it on my old iPad 1 and started reading. And then slowly from 2009 to 2014, this idea grew about where's the Norwegian magazine? I want to read what I had back in the day. So yeah, that's just a little add-on, that there are really great sites out there, including my own apparently, that will preserve this type of publications. And I hope you enjoy the introduction, and I will now go through some of the magazines. Okay, so the first magazine we're going to look at is Data-Tid. And in English the closest thing is, I guess, Computer Times. And this is issue 1 from February 1979. And this is actually the first magazine, first issue. And Data-Tid, it was a Norwegian computer magazine, of course. And then they were a member of the Norwegian Union or something. And it's probably the oldest computer magazine we had in Norway. And it came out in February 1979. And they also changed their name to Hjemmedata in 1983. And they continue all the way until 2000. And there was a number of changes in 92 to 95. And in 1999 they merged with another magazine called Network and Communication. So Network and Communication. And I guess the entire magazine eventually died during the 2000. I only have 2 physical magazines, so number 1 and number 2 maybe, I can't remember. But anyway, this is the first they issued, and yeah, this was the early days. And yeah, it was of course there wouldn't be any Commodore 64 or anything like this. This is way before 1982, and it has a bunch of more of this I guess BBCs and some typewriters and some business stuff. And yeah, it's an interesting magazine because it's the birth of computer Norwegian history. So there are like weird computers, I've never seen this before. It's like what does it say? AIM-65 from Mikrodata. And yeah, that was the first image, first issue. And what is this? Terminet 200. Okay. Yeah, so it's all black and white with a front cover. And you can find the 2 magazines that I have as PDF on my website. So I will put a link to that in the QR code right there. And yeah, that was the Data-Tid. Yeah, and now we're gonna take a look at Hjemmedata. This is issue 4 from April 1983. But the magazine actually started in 1982. And it started in September 1982, and then in 1983, from issue 6, they changed the name to Mikrodata with hobby data. And that lasted until 1985, issue 4, where they changed the name again to PC Mikrodata. And eventually they changed the name in 1987 again to PC World. And this is actually still today a physical magazine, I believe. At least it was when I wrote the article on my website in 2018. And they also have a secondary magazine sometimes called Program Special. And I believe it may be sold separately, or sometimes it followed like a sub-magazine inside the magazine. Anyway, we're going to take a look at hobby data first, and then afterwards we're going to take a look at Mikrodata with hobby data, and then we're going to transfer actually to PC World and PC Mikrodata. But yeah, this is still 1982, so it's 3 years after the other magazine. So this one also has a color cover, but of course now it's 1983, so now we are talking about Color Genie and Auric, mentioned better than Spectrum. And this is also a black and white mostly, or just simple colors. But these also would feature Commodore 64, and I also have some programming listings, which are really cool when you want to learn programming. And this is for, I'm not sure what machine this is. Yeah, well, I guess it's Color Genie. So that's how this one looks. And then we're gonna take a look at Mikrodata. So this is still this is 1983, so 1 year later. And this is number 6 from 1983. Now they started getting a little bit more color. Still, it's more or less the same format, much more program listing, like type-ins. This is for VIC-20, ZX81, Commodore 64. So now they're really becoming interesting, at least for me, because I only used Commodore 64 from 1987. So, you know, when this magazine came out, I was only 9 years old. And the previous magazine, which was Data-Tid, that I talked about, this was 1979. So I was 5 years old when this came out. So I would never see this in the shop, obviously. I also didn't see this in the shop. I was 9 years old, so that was a couple of years before I started buying magazines. And then they constantly were changing the design. So this is 1984. And they also have a program special, which I talked about. So that will be like a thick sub-magazine inside. Sometimes these will be sold separately, I think, but it is kind of like this gray thing, but there's a lot of interesting code type listing here that you can type in. Here you can have a Gothic character set for the Commodore 64. That's pretty cool. And yeah, it's pretty much the same as the other ones. There's a mix of colors, some newspaper type of paper, and yeah, this magazine is actually the first magazine that I got. I bought it just randomly in a used shop, and I actually kind of liked it. But that was the only magazine that I ever had physically. And then later they changed the design again. So this is now 1985. Still, it's pretty much the same story. but still interesting piece of history and really good magazines. Interesting with all these listings. And then in 1984, they also maybe had two magazines going on at the same time, but I started using the word PC and Mikrodata. And yeah, I can't remember really if I had this magazine. I feel I recognize this front. So maybe this was the second magazine I just randomly bought. I can't remember. And then eventually they would change into a more thick format. So now they are glued. Before they were staples. And now it was called PC Mikrodata with PC World Norway. And yeah, I think there are some program listing, but now it turns more like business magazine. I kind of feel like now they stop playing and they become too serious, I guess, business-wise. And here's another typical design that I had. So this is PC Mikrodata with PC World Norway. This is from 1986. And yeah, there isn't too much pictures, and maybe some of the stories are a little bit, you know, too business software, like accounting software and whatnot. And then eventually David became PC World in 1987, and this magazine, I believe, lasted many years, all the way into the 2000, and maybe it still exists. I haven't checked today, but at least in 2018, when I scanned all of these magazines and wrote the background story, this was still in sale. So yeah, that was the PC World and Mikrodata magazines. Okay, and now we're gonna take a look at this magazine, which is called C. And it seems like this started from Mikrodata. And this is issue 1985. They started the issues in 1984. And it's covering MSX and Commodore computers. And it seems to have lasted only to 1986, from what I could do in research. The magazine was sold through subscription in Norway in the beginning, and then Denmark later on. And they also sold it through Norwegian Language. This was I was only 11 years old, so I would never, you know, buy this. I wouldn't know what the heck this was. And I also wrote in my notes on my website that the main editor of the magazine seems to be working in Mikrodata magazine, also from 1984, until he resigned and started his own, namely C Computer magazine. Other freelance editors for Mikrodata seems to join the C team as well. And their slogan was First I hjemme og Mikrodata, so first in home and you know, computers. And this magazine is not the first issue, and it has like a regular newspaper type of quality. So it's all black and white with just this single color, but they have some really interesting code typings listing, program listings. So this is a quite interesting magazine. It's a good read, and it's also from 1985, so it's really in the spotlight. And here's another magazine from 1985. They kind of upgraded their design a little, glossy page-ish, and still it's kind of the same story. And they have some typing as well. Yeah, so these magazines are also really good to read. I really like these ones too. And that was the look for the C magazine. Now we're going to take a look at EXEC. That is also one of my favorite magazines during my Amiga times. And it says here that this is a member magazine for the Atlantis Amiga User Club. And this is issue 4 from 90. I have the complete collection of all of these. I don't have them all physically, but I have them digitally on my website. So this is at least issue 4. They started in 1987 with the first issue. And it ended in late 1991 when the follow-up magazine called AmigaForum took over. And we're gonna take a look at this one. So this one has a glossy front page, and it's a much higher quality paper. So they kind of upgraded their machinery in Norway, I guess. And they have all kinds of reviews and some technical details, a little bit of coding. It's really a cool magazine. I really love these, and the good thing is that we have all of them. And then we're going to take a look at the follow-up, which is AmigaForum. And that was the follow-up after EXEC. And that's also one of the magazines I subscribe to personally. And they started in 1992 and lasted until 1994 when the third magazine took over, which was Megabyte. And this is issue 4 in 1993. And still they have the same glossy quality, and still the same contents, interesting, and a little bit more color now. And they also started with the game reviews, but mostly it was hardware and you know, creativity and productivity. So this has a lot of interesting information, and I also have the complete collection of AmigaForum on my website. Then we're going to take a look at Megabyte, which only lasted for 2 magazines in 1994. So this is issue 2. This is the very last issue that was ever published from that EXEC AmigaForum timeline. So it was really sad to see, because I guess the editor of this magazine, Øyvind Skogvold, at some point in time he said he had to pawn his house or car, or you know, something. He was really struggling with the financial part of this, probably due to failing advertising. And of course it is 1994, and well, that was the doomsday of Commodore related things. But anyway, it follows kind of the same format. It has much more quality paper, and I think pretty much all of the pages are now in full color. Of course there are always some scattered around. So yeah, I also have the complete collection of this on my website. There was only 2 of them, so that's pretty easy to collect, I suppose. Yeah, and that was the Megabyte or EXEC, AmigaForum, Megabyte magazines. Now we're gonna take a look at Datakjelleren, or I guess you could call it a computer basement, and that was a newspaper. And it was a Norwegian computer, software, hardware and games magazine back in the 90s. It seems to have started publishing in 1992 out of a computer company in Kristiansand called Datakjelleren at first. And it probably did not distribute far outside Kristiansand. And they released at least 2 issues of Datakjelleren Avisa on the newspaper in a dry paper style and mostly black and white, no color. And they also changed the name later on to Databladet, and then they become like a glossy type production from 1992. I never saw this one in the shops, obviously, because it seems to be very local at first. Maybe limited distribution around in Norway. But anyway, this is the actual first issue from 1992. And yeah, it has a lot of advertising actually. Since I guess this is like a shop, their own shop, and then they are you know, putting some reviews inside and then sprinkle it with lots of their own advertising. So it's more like a mix magazine. It's more like a shop newspaper type. And then we're gonna take a look at Databladet, which is the one that came after Datakjelleren. And this is yeah, what issue is this? Well, it says 1st of September and October. I'm not really sure what year this is. But anyway, they kind of glossy it up, and it seems that all the pages inside are black and white. But it looks much more healthy now. It has, you know, reviews. I don't know if they ever had any. Yeah, they also have some programming and some assembler course. So they have a little bit of everything. I really like this magazine as well. And I'm gonna take a look at, I believe this is the very last issue, maybe. I can't really remember. It says 1995. And I have to check my website. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not really sure. But anyway, they kind of upgraded the graphics a little bit. Now it's a glossy, and now they started with a really full color through everything. Oh, The Gathering 1995. I was actually in Gathering 96 and 97 with a couple of entries there in the wild compo. Yeah, so this is a really interesting magazine as well. So yeah, that was Datakjelleren and Databladet. And also on my website I have more of these newsletters, which were not really magazine that you could buy, but more like a membership benefits, I would say. So it was a computer club, and they seem to have started in 1992. And they sell games and software through mail order, and they also produce this magazine for their members. So this is a newsletter number 3 from 1994, and I guess it will have some advertising and some game listings for their own club. Oh yeah, look at this. So there's Amiga CD32 titles. Yeah, it looks like the one that actually, yeah, there may be 1 or 2 games there that never got released, unfortunately. So this was at least one of the magazines. I have a bunch of this on my website. And there's another one from 1994. And it's all black and white, because this is of course a less less profitable organization, I would probably imagine. So, you know, it costs money to print paper. So that was just a little quick review, that I also have these other types of publication that are more local or more like membership things that you could never see in the shop. So if you're not a member, you could pretty much never see these types of magazines. So thanks to the people who donated these to me, or in some way sent me digital files, or, you know, they lend it to me so I can scan them and then I got it back. At least we have managed to preserve a couple of these. So that was Arctic Nytt. Now we're going to take a look at the Norsk Hjemmedata Klubben, or the Norwegian Home Computer Club. They also have an abbreviation DNH, which is used on my website, both of these names. And they started out in 1990 from the sales and distribution company Data-Tronic. And this type of publication ended in 1994, where they changed the style and the concept, and it was reborn as Giga. And they also ended up naming the computer magazine for Databladet Giga. And I also have a bunch of diskettes that follow this magazine, or actually you could order some kind of diskettes and stuff. So there is more than just the magazines on my website. There's also a lot of goodies attached to these. And this is issue 5 from 1995. And yeah, this is again, they have advertisement for the products that they sell, but they also have sprinkle in some stories and reviews. So it's a good mix of both getting access to all of these hardware and software directly from the same people that are writing this magazine. So I really enjoyed this magazine as well. It's one of my favorite. I can't remember if I was a member. I think actually I was a member, so I subscribed to them. So that was issue 5 from 1991. And then this is issue 3 from 1994. And it's still kind of the same. So here they talk about vedlegg diskette, that means attachment floppies, which would be a disk that you could buy that had related material inside. So they had some couple of you know, reviews of this month's floppy disk or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, some of the magazine of course have been cut, so unfortunately this is one of them, but for the most part they are all complete and looking great. And then of course I said they changed their name into Giga, med den norske Hjemmedata Klubben. So this is the same people, they just rebranded it and they probably wanted to expand into the PC market as well. They upgraded now and they have a lot of more colors. And I believe I have one more of these. Yeah. And this is the final version, which is called Databladet Giga. It doesn't mention this Hjemmedata Club anymore. And I also started attaching CDs. So I have also tried to preserve all the CDs, both the scans and the contents that you can download. And wow, look at this PlayStation. Yeah. And even the Windows. Yeah, and this is actually the, this is after, this is the logo after Commodore went bankrupt, so this is Amiga Technologies. Yeah, good old times. So there's a lot of memories in these magazines, and the good thing is if you would read about something, today it's easy to get all of this, so you can basically download the magazines from our website and then you can just start reading through them, and suddenly you will trigger some memory and think, oh my god, I wanted to test this game but I couldn't buy it. Well, now you can find it online, so you can kind of get back what you wanted from the times that you were young and couldn't afford much of this. Yeah, so that was the Norske Hjemmedata Klubben, going all the way from this to this and finally this. Alright, so that was the story about this. And then finally we're going to take a look at Tekno. It was a famous magazine in Norway and also one of my favorite magazines. So the first issue was in 1993, and in 1998 they changed the concept and they became Tekno Games in early 1999. And I believe Tekno Games lasted until 2001, so this was probably one of the magazines that lasted the longest, actually. So from 1993 to 2001. And by 2001, we had gotten much better internet, so this magazine kind of faded into obscurity, I guess. But anyway, these were always in full color. I don't have the complete collection of all of these Tekno magazines, but they have a good mix of articles, and I don't think there was too many programming things inside. There was more like, yeah, maybe walkthroughs and some cheats and the obvious advertising for the cool machine CD32. Yeah, but it's really a good read, these magazines. And then they eventually upgraded a little bit. I don't believe I have a Tekno Games physically, but I have it on my website, because sometimes people would send me these magazines through mail, so I wouldn't have the digital version, or maybe they wanted it back, of course. I just lent it and scan it and send it back to them in the same condition. But of course, eventually, this is, what was this? 1998, so more and more it will transition from Amiga 1200 CD32, transition to PlayStation 1, and then slowly getting over to Windows because by that time, you know, that is where we all ended up. But it is a very good documentation of Norwegian computer history, all the way from 1993 to 2001, together with all the other magazines. It is really a pack of information, and I also have a little bonus at the end here, and that is also related to Tekno magazine. Wouldn't you believe I have an actual never been open magazine? It's sealed, and this is number 2 from 1997. So yeah, I do have a copy of this, which was scanned, but you know, it's a little bit cool to have just the original packaging. So yeah, that was the Tekno review, but I have actually a little bonus. I talked about this magazine before, which was the Norsk Hjemmedata Klubben, and I also said the DNH. And yeah, I actually completely forgot this. And the story is so wild, it's like, what the heck, man? So I programmed a vector object designer in Amos. I can't remember when I did it, but I will put some screenshots in here. So that will reveal reveal the date of that. There was a vector object designer where you could plot in some coordinates, and then you can save it as a Seka source code, and then you can use that source code. I believe either you have to compile it before, and then you can use that object file inside the Red Sector demo maker, so you can actually use the 3D objects that you created inside the Red Sector demo maker. So that was one of my first programs, and I thought, well, these guys actually accepted contribution from people. So if the program was really good, they put it on the floppy disk that you could buy, and you can kind of spread your own software. And the disk, the software, I managed to recover about 15 years ago. I had completely almost forgotten about it. But I found the actual disk that I sent to the magazine, and I saw the date, and I was thinking, what the hell happened? Did they actually accept my software? Because I never got a message from them. I sent the floppy disk and a letter to them, and I'm pretty sure I got hold of all the magazines. I can't remember if this was actually, if I subscribed or you could buy it. But I seem to have missed this exact issue, because lo and behold, they had a computer club called Agaton Club, where they have a bunch of member disks and things like this. And yeah, so in disk 2A 1992, I got completely shocked when I saw this. This is Vector Object Designer version 1, and that's my, I think that's my my README file. Yeah, I have documented this on my website. So where does it say Vector 3D? Make your own vector graphic, not filled vectors. Yeah, so they actually did include my software, and they called it Vector 3D, but that was not really the name. But anyway, I thought that was a pretty cool bonus, and I just discovered this a couple of years ago, and imagine this was 1992. And pretty much like 24 or 30 years later, you know, I found that they actually included my software, and I did get hold of the floppy disk, so that is also preserved. I believe I have almost all of their club disk. They had a lot of clubs, a couple of clubs. But yeah, that was just a little bonus, like, look ma, I'm famous. So yeah, that was just a little perfect little sprinkle of bonus now in the Christmas time. And yeah, I will end this video now. Maybe I will find some other material that I can show very quickly, because I also have not just magazines on my section. I also have you know, floppy disks. I have a lot of commercial advertisement, and maybe some other small snips and papers, you know, paperwork, manuals, and all of this. So yeah, that was just a little quick run through my magazine collection. So hope you like it. Yeah, I just want to add also that my website doesn't only just have magazines. I also focus on everything paper related. It could be something as crazy as just the envelopes for some of the magazines, or advertisements, or other catalogs. So I just want to run through some of the potential things that may be scanned already. Some of these are not Norwegian, so I will ignore the English ones, but this is some of my collections of other things. I believe this was in AmigaForum magazines. So I collect all of these things, everything related. I don't throw anything. I saved a bunch of stuff like this back in the day, and also if I come over it and people send me some stuff, I will scan it, especially if it's Norwegian. So this would be one of the things that you can find also on my website from Data-Tronic. It's tiny little catalogs, and yeah, I have, these are all my original ones from back in the day, even from 1989. It even have my name on her. And yeah, this is just a little bonus. I mean, this is when I actually purchased my Amiga 500 for the first time in 10th of June 1989. And there are some catalogs from Applause Data, and again Data-Tronic. This is actually my very first catalog. I don't believe this is the actual one that I have saved. I can't really remember. Well, this might be my first catalog. When I bought the Commodore 64 in 87 or 88, this was something that followed. So I have scanned everything that is related. This is just a folder I keep to store this paper. So you have paperwork like this, which would be scanned. And this is one of my old posters from a CU magazine. And also smaller magazines or one-offs from Commodore. And also these types of two-page advertisement. Some, you know, yeah, I actually commented to EXEC that I want more color, but I never sent this in, so that's a good thing. Okay. And there will be lots of catalogs and memorabilia that you probably saw, but you just threw it away, and I preserved some of it. Why the heck is Sega in here? And this was like a free magazine you can pick up in the shop from Commodore in I think it was the Oslo division. And yeah, let's see what we have here. So this is more price list from October 1995 from Applause Data. As one of the companies we had here in Norway, and there's some Sega stuff again. And even from Tessa Electronics, price lists. And sometimes it can be difficult to find the date on these, but yeah, this one is actually from 92. So it's sometimes difficult to date these, so you have to kind of look at the titles of the games or hardware and kind of, you know, look for keywords. Maybe it says new, and then you will realize, oh, that's the Days of Thunder games, and then you can go back into Google and figure out when it was launched. So you can pretty much put a timestamp on them if there is no timestamp. And yeah, I have a couple of copies because one is mine and one was donated to me. And also like paper that follow AmigaForum, like just information, and again some price lists, and all of this of the Norwegian type is scanned and put on my website. I didn't scan this because this is just a basic printer. There are some Sound Blaster stuff I saved, and lo and behold, the horror of Apple. Ugh. Well, that's all the way in the back because I don't give a shit about that. Okay, so that was just a little tiny bonus that I have tried to preserve. Not only magazines, but also whatever related material that belongs to that time period of basically preserving the Norwegian computer history. Alright, that was it. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little backside story of all the magazines, and a little sneak preview, so you can check out all my magazine in the QR code. And I hope you enjoy this kind of format, and I will be doing some other movies in the future where it will be kind of the same concept, but different you know, categories, whatever I can find in my old website. I mean, all of stories in my website that are getting a couple of years old that I can focus on and explain and talk about. And I also edited this movie in my own virtual reality system, which I created in Unity running on Oculus Quest. So everything you see of the editing was done inside a virtual reality headset. Because I want to be efficient in editing. I spent too much time editing videos since 1998, and I want to try different methods to see how efficient I can be in making some you know, more interesting videos than just text and music and slideshow, which I usually would do back in the day. This is some of my first video where I will actually sit and talk and not act as one of my characters in some of my movies, or you know, being Keith Flint in some Prodigy music videos or crazy stuff like this. So it's all natural, it's all me, and see you next time. Yeah, and I failed to mention the status of the background. This is in my basement. Half of the basement is underground, and the top is above the ground. And it's 70 square meters, but this is kind of a long journey I've started when I bought this house in 2008. The entire house needed to be fixed, so that's what we've been doing since 2008. The basement is basically the last priority, but we did some upgrades to it, and this is just part of the scenery right now. I will also in the future make updates on building my own, I guess you would call it, retro basement. I choose to use the word old school because retro to me is kind of overused these days. Back in the day it was old school, you know, going back to the 80s. Or you can even go as far as calling it nostalgia or nostalgic and things like this. So, but anyway, retro is the buzzword people would recognize the most. Old school. Well, in my term, maybe old school belongs to the music industry, like old school breakbeats and stuff like this. Retro for me has always been a word I associate with furniture for some reason. Basically in the line of vintage, which sounds like a grandma words. But I guess it doesn't matter, right? It's about the content and what you surround yourself with. So yeah, I guess this basement will be finished when it's finished. Like I said, it is now 2024 in December, and it has been, a lot of work fixing the rest of the house, so it takes time. But I have grown a good collection of retro things and, Commodore and computers and all kind of stuff. And I will slowly bring them out and make some videos about it, and also maybe sometime document the progress of this dream basement, where I can, for the first time in history, display everything. So all my VHS collection, all my computers, all the software, everything like from my childhood, and all the newer stuff that I've bought since I started with computer in 1982 in the Atari 2600 gaming console. Yeah, so that was just a quick add-on in case you wonder why the heck I'm having advertisement for Pergo or whatever it's behind me here. This is not a sponsored video, whatever. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.